Hello, in this video I'll be showing you how I illustrate Jihyo from Twice using mixed media, acrylic gouache and Winsor & Newton inks. So starting off, I use these Liquitex gouache acrylics. They are the same as acrylic paint, however they are supposed to dry a lot more matte and less pasty, if that makes any sense. So they're good for flat paintings where you don't want thick layers of three-dimensional paint. But to be honest, I find them pretty much the same as any other acrylics, so I'm not too convinced about them. So I'm going to be using two different techniques. First of all, I'm going to do the face, neck and shoulder with acrylic, and you'll see later on the hair and dress I'll be doing in inks in a watercolor technique. And whenever I'm doing a face, I think it's quite important to you always have slight subtle shades shimmering through the skin. Obviously there are no rules, you can paint however you want, but I always like to pick out the colours I actually see in the shades, and very often it's purples and yellows. Depending on the light, it can be blues and oranges. Just finishing off the small details with a fine brush. I recommend getting a really fine brush if you're going to do small delicate details. I've ruined all of my brushes, so I'm trying to do everything with this medium-sized one, which has been pretty wrecked from not washing it out often enough and leaving it in the water. But at this point, anything will do, or have to do. So the reason why I'm doing another illustration of Jihyo from Twice is because she's one of my favourite members. She always has been from the start, because I always root for the underdog. I always like the least popular one, and at the beginning she always used to be the least popular member in Korea for some strange reason. And I don't know, I just like a underdog story. She trained the longest to be in the group. She's the lead vocalist. She's one of the best dancers in the group as well. And at the beginning now, she's very much loved, but I don't feel like she got all the love she deserves, which made me like her even more. So as you can see, I've moved to the watercolor ink stage. What you do here is you pre-wet the area that you want to paint with water, clear, plain water, and then you just dip in the ink and let it flow freely and move around the paper. I'm using these Winsor & Newton inks in 3 colours. I've had these inks for about 15 years, and if you're experienced with painting with inks or drawing in inks, I think a proper experienced ink painter or drawer would mix the colours together to create or achieve different shades, whereas I don't have the patience for that anymore, so I just use these 3 colours crudely, crudely, purely from the bottle without diluting them or mixing them together. So I jump between using this deep red, which looks slightly pink. I have a purple, and what other colour have I got? I think I have an orange, or a browny orange colour, which I used to do the skin here. And as I mentioned in my previous video, it's quite a fast, efficient technique to do. However, I find it very difficult because you have to start light and darken, and you can't control everything. So once you go too dark, you can't brighten it up again. You're left with that result. So you have to be quite concise and careful, which I don't like. I find that tricky. I always like to go back if I make a mistake, or not feel like the application of paint or ink in that moment is crucial and final. Here I'm using the purple. The purple is a different brand, I believe it's Pelican. And I don't know why I ended up just with these three colours, but luckily enough, they're the exact colours of Jihyo wearing her promo dress for the More and More teaser. It's always good to have tissue papers and cotton buds at hand when using the techniques. You can always dab up any rogue ink that is running away into areas and places where you don't want it to be. At the time of painting this, I finally managed to listen to their new single More and More as it has released, and it is really, really great. A great tune for the summer. It's giving me a more mature dance the night away sort of vibe. And as you can see here, I've combined the acrylic of the face and hands with the ink underneath. So I painted the acrylic on a clear sheet that I laid over the original sketch just so I could use these two different techniques, and if one failed I could still have the rest of the illustration not ruined. This was my favourite part, and the reason why I chose this image in particular, because I loved all the pearls in the dress. I ordered a Posca white pen to do these pearls and it never arrived, so I used this other brand, which I don't necessarily recommend. It's not the best, but it's an acrylic paint pen. There are a dime a dozen different brands that you can use. And yeah, here's the finished result. For other options and versions of my Jihyo illustrations and all my other illustrations, please feel free to head to my Instagram. It'll be linked below or on my YouTube page. I've got many, many more images to come and many more images already released on my Instagram, so feel free to go and have a peek. And I wish you all a wonderful day. Goodbye.